Hello, good morning, and welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us again for another exciting episode. As usual, Sandy McKay is here with me. How's it going, Sandy?
Hey, Rob. I'm amazing. Excited to be back. Excited to have some great guests lined up here coming soon to the episode, and to be here with you again. Share some great insights and investing successes and knowledge. It's exciting.
And for those of you who can't see, Sandy's sitting at his new office, right?
I am. Yeah, it's cool. So this is probably not the backdrop that we'll always have for the show, but you get a little taste of it today, so it's exciting. Yeah, new brokerage, new adventures, new opportunities to share knowledge like this with a wider audience. So it's great.
Well, tell us a bit about that. Where is it? What do you got going on?
Yeah, so opened a new Keller Williams brokerage, Keller Williams Legacies Realty, which I'm excited about. Excited with the legacies term. I think that ties in with this effort that we put into this in terms of building wealth with people and sharing ideas around that. And we're just north of Toronto, Vaughan. So south part of the York region, just above the 407. And yeah, just going great. We're just opened about a month ago, so we got lots of awesome realtors coming in, and we are kind of useful and exciting in terms of brokerages in the GTA. So it's a fun thing to be doing.
Yeah, very excited for you. Congratulations on that, man. That's a big thing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, so moving on, I guess. We would like to remind everybody who's listening to go over to breakthroughreipodcast.ca, listen to the episodes, click all the links for the social media, get involved, get excited, get going with everything that is over there, and you can pick up our free gift there as well.
Absolutely, a free gift, which is the ultimate strategy for building wealth through real estate, and you will get that like always, and get a chance to get on our email list as well, so you always hear about what we're up to, new episodes, all sorts of great stuff, events, everything that we've got going on there. And you can do that at our website, of course, breakthroughreipodcast.ca, and never miss a beat when you sign up there.
People hear us say that all the time, and maybe they sort of skim by there, but that's actually a really good free gift, and I think everyone should go over. Anyone who hasn't done that, go over, pick up the free gift. It's some good, quick, free knowledge, and you'll get on our email list, like Sandy said. So you'll be able to keep up with everything that's going on with Sandy's new brokerage there, with any tours that I have going on, whether they're virtual or maybe one day in person again. Any events that Sandy's got going on, whether they're virtual or in person, just don't miss out. Go over there, get that free gift, and get on the email list. As well, please go over to iTunes. That's always a good way to connect with us as well, and leave us a rating and review. We really appreciate anyone that has, and of course, if you haven't, it doesn't take long. It takes a few minutes. Let us know what you think. Let us know any guests that you'd like to hear from, any topics you'd like us to cover. Go over there, write us a review, let us know what you think.
And follow us on Facebook and YouTube, because we're getting a better audience there, but it's a great opportunity to join us during the show. If you're listening to this on audio, you probably listened to a recording, and you could have joined us probably weeks ago or maybe even months ago to listen in and engage with us throughout the show and ask our guests even some questions potentially. So we'd love to have you on live, commenting and sharing and everything. So come join us, Breakthrough Real Estate Investing on Facebook or YouTube.
Yeah, so anyone who's listening to this right now, feel free to jump in, leave questions for our guests. I'm sure that you will have some. So even if you think there's a silly question, there's no such thing as a silly question. Jump on there. Don't be shy. You can engage with our great guests that we have today, returning guests, Jayson Lowe and Peter Lount. So excited to have you guys back.
Yeah, welcome, guys.
It's good to be back. Good to be with you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So yeah, it's an exciting topic, and I think we had you on maybe 12 months or so, maybe even longer than that ago, and we had a lot of great feedback on this, and a lot of people reaching out for questions. So we'll kind of have a similar show, because I think there's a lot of good value in that, but also maybe add different things, and we've got some giveaways. There are great events coming up that you guys will share with us, and some awesome kind of exclusive access that people are going to be able to get if they are listening and want to learn more. So Just quickly before we get into it, I'm going to talk about a little bit about who you are and give you a chance to add to it. But Jayson Lowe he's the founder, CEO of Ascendant Financial, and highly regarded coach, speaker, and advisor to individuals and business owners nationwide. And he's recognized as one of Canada's top overall advisors and author of several publications. Jason's delivered hundreds of presentations to the general public, appeared at countless stages and interviews, internationally recognized as one of the leading educators and implementers of this really exciting topic, becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, which is super sexy title. And we're going to learn a little bit more about what that all means here through the show.
It absolutely is. Yeah. Thanks for being back.
Oh, it's so good to be with you guys. And I've never heard it referred to that as before, but yeah, we'll have to use that. A super sexy title.
Well, it's intriguing. Maybe sexy is not the right word, but it's definitely intriguing.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I think both of those words describe it very, very well. Jayson, Peter, thanks for being back, guys. Again, appreciate your time today. So I guess just let's start off again by, getting a little bit of background from each of you. You want to tell us a bit about, because you guys are involved in real estate investing as well.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of a background on how you guys got started out.
Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, thanks, Jayson, and Rob and Sandy for being on the show today. So really for my journey, I was corporate IT sales for 20 plus years, and I knew I wanted more than what I was getting. And I knew that there wasn't a pension at the end of it. There wasn't this pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So, I was convinced that I was going to make my way out of the corporate world through real estate investing. And that was my way out. And, same with any journey, you run into bumps and bruises along the way. So definitely I learned a lot through that. But, through my journey, I was doing tons of research, going to events, listening to podcasts, books and all this stuff. And then I was listening to a real estate podcast and I heard this thing, and it was called Becoming Your Own Banker. And I literally had to rewind this thing over and over, and I listened to it again. I'm like, okay, this podcast was a real estate podcast in the US, but I was like, okay, how do I find this in Canada? So I went and did all my research, and that's where I found Jayson and Sarbo and team, and kind of the rest is history for me. I've now implemented the process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, into my life, into my family's life, into our business. And, going into it, I was thinking retirement, but now my mindset is really generational, which is not something I ever even had thought would come out of it. But there's so many gifts that have come out of this process through meeting Jayson and the rest of the team at Ascendant.
Thank you, Peter, for sharing that as always. And gentlemen, thank you so much again for having us back on the show. We proudly sponsor your show, and your listening audience is awesome. When we appeared in, when was that? March? Was it March of last year? It's been a while. And the response from your audience has been nothing short of outstanding. People were reaching out to us immediately after the airing of the show saying, this is something that I've heard, or, that intrigues me. I want to get more details. We put a great package together for your audience. We're going to share that again with your audience today, along with a very special live event that we're going to host. But taking you back to the beginning of my journey with real estate, I'll never forget. I want you guys to picture this. So I was on an airplane with my boss at the time. I was working for Staples Business Depot right out of college. We were opening over 26 stores a year. We were expanding rapidly. And I was on an airplane with my boss, Ted. And he was looking at some documents from this property that he had just purchased. And I said, hey, this sounds really interesting. Can you tell me more? And so on this flight, he shared with me how he was buying into real estate. This is brand new builds, condominium style townhome units. And they were property managed, and it was a rental pool. And he was walking me through this, and I found it to be really intriguing. And I said, well, I'd love to participate in this. And so at the ripe old age of 24, I purchased my first real estate property. And I thought, wow, this is, my lot in life, and I'm going to be able to expand and buy multiple properties. And so I was purchasing one after the other. And then I started to run into the wall of financing, where it was difficult to get financing. So I had to refinance, and all these things that you've heard your listeners talk about. Maybe you've even experienced it yourself. And the properties were cash flowing, but there were a lot of headaches for me personally associated with my journey with real estate. And in 08, 09, I divested from real estate after discovering this process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept, not because real estate wasn't good, but because I wanted to focus singularly on sharing this message with Canadians coast to coast. And since then, gosh, we have transformed thousands of people's lives. And real estate investors pick up on this process very, very quickly, because real estate investors understand that having control over the use and liquidity of money allows you to take advantage of opportunity that will track you down. And the late R. Nelson Nash, the developer, the pioneer of this process, he used to share with us all the time that when you have ready access to a growing pool of financial value that you own and you control, opportunity will track you down. And he couldn't have been any more accurate in that statement, because my involvement with real estate today is more so from the financing side. So providing capital for flips, for, bridge financing, short-term liquidity, those types of things, where the asset to me is the stream of payments and the capital coming back to me. And so it's just a different way of going about financing this part of, your listeners' wealth building journey.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, guys. And it was a year ago, almost to the day where we were recording, I guess, the last one. So it doesn't seem like that long. Crazy. And like you said, I think the real estate investors are going to pick up on this pretty easily. But that being said, I think it's something that, like Peter was talking about, you kind of got to go back and go, okay, wait a minute, what was that? Like, how does that work? Like, I mean, you got to, like, the steps are sort of, there's intricacies to it.
There is.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit about how this works. Let's get into the mechanics of the whole thing.
Absolutely. So the process itself is, the essence of it is all about how you recapture the interest that you're paying to banks, to finance companies for your real estate investment activities, and how to get the money redirected, how to get the money that you're storing for vacancy fund, maintenance, your general property account that you might have money sitting in. How do you get that money redirected so it's flowing back to an entity, a system that you own and control? That entity is dividend paying, participating whole life insurance. Now, I know for listeners who are maybe hearing this for the first time, maybe they didn't catch the episode last year and they're thinking, what does that have to do with my real estate investment activity? What so many people are unaware of is that this particular tool allows you to deposit money, accumulate daily cash value, which is this growing pool that cannot be repossessed. It can't be taken away. There's no viral pandemic or bad economy or stock market risk or real estate cycle that can take away any of that accumulating value inside of the policy or system of policies. The insurance company itself lends money. Yet the difference is, for the real estate investor, is that when they need access to that capital, they're not having to fill out lengthy, nosy credit applications. There's no income qualification. There's no credit checks. There's no request for, hey, what do you need the money for? How long do you need it for? The policy owner is in total and absolute control, not only over access to capital, but over the repayment schedule. So imagine, Rob, if you went to a mortgage broker and you sat down with that broker and said, hey, I need access to capital. I've built up some collateral. So I've got $100,000 of collateral. I need access to money to go and take advantage of this real estate investment opportunity. And the broker not only says, Rob, we're good to go in 30 seconds or less. And in addition to that, Rob, I'm going to contractually guarantee that your property is going to rise in value every single day, uninterrupted, regardless of what's going on out there in the economy. And you get to control the repayment schedule. That would be the one and only broker that you ever do business with for the rest of your real estate investing journey. And what's liberating for real estate investors who embrace this process is they first and foremost they're getting knowledgeable. So they're listening to this episode. They're reading R. Nelson Nash's book titled Becoming Your Own Banker, which we offer in the vault, and I'll talk about that in a moment. They're meeting with an authorized infinite banking practitioner, so they're getting connected with the right person on my team. We're taking a look at how they're structured financially, what specific financial objectives they have, how much money is required to accomplish them, and then we structure their policy or their system of policies in order to achieve that. Now, I'll give you a real example. So one of our existing clients, his name's Alan Antonio. He's more than happy for us to share this message with your listening audience. Now, he resides in Alberta, and he owns multiple fourplex units. And when he first met me, gosh, this would have been about 9 years ago. And he, just like your listeners, he went through a process of learning, read the book, attended a class that we're going to host for your listeners. He met with me afterward. We put this process in place. He began to implement it. He was able to accumulate enough value in his system to get rid of the commercial banks, the lenders. He got rid of them 13 years ahead of schedule. And so his tenants are still paying the rent every single month, even through COVID. Who's getting the money now? It's flowing back to his system. It's not being transferred away to another lender where he can't earn interest on that money again. He can't save the money again. He can't spend it again. And God forbid, if anything happened to him during that period of time, he would have left no indebtedness behind to his family, which is something that the real estate investors that we talk to, guys, they don't know about the deemed disposition rule. They don't know about the passive investment income tax rules, all of these things that the policies are exempt from. And I haven't met a single real estate investor yet who said, I could really stand to pay more taxes. I don't feel like I'm being taxed enough. I'd really love to put myself in a position where I'm paying more. I believe in paying fair share, just like all of you gentlemen do. But when we can mitigate tax, preserve capital, provide access to take advantage of opportunity that will track you down, it's ridiculously simple once you understand how to do it, but you got to work with a good coach.
Well, and avoiding burden on your family is a big thing, right?
Yeah.
That's super important to a lot of real estate investors, because they know they've got to set themselves up in the best way they possibly can so that when they're gone, the transfer of the things that they own don't put, the family in debt.
Definitely. And we had an accountant recently that Peter had a relationship with, his own accountant, who reached out to us after going through the very same process. And this is a chartered accountant who specializes in real estate investment, who reached out and said, I wasn't aware of this. And when we went through a process, not only did the accountant begin to implement that for herself and her family, she introduced it to her whole client base and said, as real estate investors, you need to hear this. You need to understand that this is something that can be incredibly liberating, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's meant to happen incrementally over a period of time, which aligns perfectly with the real estate investor's journey anyway. They're purchasing these properties for a deferred benefit. They're getting passive income, generating positive cash flow. The deferred benefit being whatever their end game is with their real estate portfolio. But what we see often too, gentlemen, is that we see people who are over levered. And so they've gone into the real estate game and they've experienced some early wins and some early success, and then they over lever themselves. And nobody explained to them what happens when the interest rate lever eventually is going to go the other way. And so this process, this platform will also help shield that real estate investor from what happens when the interest rate lever goes the other way. So the advantages are really incalculable. Ease of access to capital without credit checks, lengthy, nosy credit applications, dealing with bankers or brokers who don't understand what you're trying to achieve and how you want to go about doing it. You control the repayment schedule of your loans. There's a death benefit thrown in for good measure. The daily cash value growth is not subject to any taxation. The dividends that you receive on an annual basis, when they're declared, are contractually guaranteed to be paid. They can't be repossessed. They can't lose value. The list goes on and on and on. So we get asked, a number of your listeners asked us, what's the downside? Right? You talk about...
That's the obvious question, guys. It's got to be something. Where's the catch?
And so the downside is twofold. So the first part of the downside is not doing it. Isn't it true that presently, for all your listeners who are not now practicing this process, for all your listeners, that every dollar that flows through their hands is flowing through the books of someone else's bank? And every payment that their tenant is making to reduce the mortgage balance of their real estate portfolio is increasing the margin of safety for the lender, not for the investor. And so to have that money flowing back only creates a financial advantage. But the second part of the downside is that if the policy owner is accessing capital in the form of policy loans and not repaying those loans, that's just a polite description of theft. You wouldn't borrow capital from an outside lender to finance your real estate investment activity with no intention of repaying it. The bank would not only repossess the property, but they would destroy your credit. So when you put 100% total and absolute control in the hands of the policy owner, and you say, look, you get ready access to capital, but you control the repayment schedule, then we coach our client to remember that capital always has a cost, and you should treat the repayment no different than you would if you had borrowed the money from an outside lender, because everything that you repay into your own system, you get instant re-access to. And so the best way to save money is to repay your policy loans. And you can use the loans not only to expand your portfolio, but you can use the loans for property taxes, maintenance, vacancy fund, all of those things that a real estate investor encounters. And this process provides that very peaceful, stress-free financial way of life when you get the bankers, you get those outside lenders out of your life. And it happens incrementally over a period of time.
Yeah, it's not a get rich quick.
God, no.
By any means, right? But it is something, especially what I like when you refer to coaching them through it is a big piece of it, because it's one thing to set it up probably, and then another thing to kind of work incrementally towards that, whatever their goals are down the road, and do it in a proper way.
Absolutely.
Because that's ultimately, people can really, they could get skewed off and go in different directions probably through the process and maybe screw it up for themselves. How does that?
I was just going to say, you're trying to tell us there's a certain element of responsibility that comes along with this.
Definitely.
Imagine that.
Well, and that, it's a good point, Rob. And one of the things that we provide, because we want to, part of our painted picture vision as a team and a company is to show up in the marketplace in a way that nobody else is showing up. And we have a client portal, which is a vault of resources, so that when a new client has embraced the process, they're not being left out there to their own devices to say, hey, good luck, hope you get there. We have a client portal that has step-by-step, paint-by-numbers tutorials on how to access policy loans, how to track them, how to develop your own repayment schedule, how to expand your program. The most frequently asked questions that we've compiled over the past 13 years of serving thousands of Canadians with this process. We do quarterly group client coaching sessions so that you don't have to feel like a lone ranger. You're part of a community, people who have been practicing this process. You're surrounded by like-minded people. And what happens when you surround yourself with like-minded people? That's true.
You don't make the same mistakes as they did.
You got it. And so
exactly.
you compress timelines and you learn new things, and you get to expose your imagination to a whole lot of new ideas on how to implement this. And we do not charge our clients anything for that additional value that we bring. The way that we're compensated is directly by the life insurance companies. They have a budgeted pool of capital that they pay their human resources, their operating expense budget comes from. We're remunerated from that very same pool of dollars, and we're compensated extremely well for what we do. So all of this additional value that we're bringing to our clients enables us to show up in a way that no one else is showing up. We meet with people, we've met with folks from your audience who said, hey, I got a policy, it was back in 2011. And I said, well, when's the last time you met with your coach? And they said, well, we're talking about insurance. You mean like my hockey coach or my baseball coach? No, like, when did you meet with your coach? Well, I haven't talked to my advisor since the policy was put into place. That would never happen here in our organization. I promise your listeners that. Frequent and effective communication is the bedrock of who we are and what we do, because we want people to truly become their own banker. This is about coaching someone to become independent, because that's what they want. If they catch the process, it's not about let's become bankers together. Let's teach you how to become your own banker. And that's what we're educating people to do. This is a perfect time for me to share with your audience. So I don't know if, can you gentlemen see this okay on the screen?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
This is something I wish I would have had when I first began my journey with this process back in July of 2008. We've named it the Banker's Vault. It is a treasure trove of resources that we've packaged for your listening audience. We've got the very best reading material on the process. We've got a pre-recorded masterclass. We are hosting a live event on Saturday, April the 17th, which is normally $198 to attend. And so to get all of that value, your listeners are going to be able to get that by visiting mybankersvault.com. Again, that's mybankersvault.com. And when they get there, they'll be able to place their order. And when this episode aired, guys, last year, we sold over 60 vaults in the first afternoon of that episode airing.
Wow.
And so your listening audience is awesome, and they have a thirst for knowledge. And so if you found yourself during this episode thinking, hey, you know what, this sounds really interesting, and I remember hearing it last year, but I sat on the fence and decided at that point not to take action. Well, let's get you off the fence and let's get you taking action. We've extended this offer and we've revived it for your listening audience. And so not only are they going to get the vault and everything contained in the vault, but they're also going to get the live event on Saturday, April the 17th, which is normally $198. Your listening audience gets it for $48, and we're donating every single penny of those enrollments, because part of who we are is to give. Not to give back, because we haven't taken anything, but to give in the communities where we work and where we coach and educate our clients on how to implement this process. And so this is going to be just an awesome, awesome offer for your listening audience to take advantage of. And I can share with you from a place of absolute authenticity, we've never bundled that together in that way before. And so we hope that your listeners get value from it.
And I'm sorry, you said, okay, number one.
Yeah.
Thank you, first of all.
You're
It's
welcome.
a very generous offer to share that with everybody.
You're welcome.
Where do they go to take advantage of it, and how exactly do they do that?
So they go to mybankersvault.com. Again, mybankersvault.com. And when they get there, there's a simple button that reads, get yours now. So we've made it ridiculously simple. They click through that, they'll fill out and complete the order form, and then everything will be packaged and sent to them. And then they'll also be receiving correspondence leading up to the live event on Saturday, April the 17th. And when I say live event, I mean, of course, virtual, because what are we in now? Day 600.
It's a lot of days. It's a lot of days.
458 of the COVID-19 lockdowns, but this is going to be virtual, and our virtual events are awesome. We bring the same energy, we bring the same level of enthusiasm and coaching to the virtual events as we do the live events. There's going to be breakout sessions. You're going to be able to network, connect with fellow Breakthrough Real Estate podcast listeners. It's going to be awesome.
That's one of the most exciting things about 2020 and 2021 is we can run those now across Canada. You can have guests from all over the place and feel like you're there in person and get similar or as good or better value even, because you get connected with so many cool people across the country.
Better believe it.
And you were saying that the money for the live event is donated?
That's correct. We're going to donate.
What are they donating to?
Really good question. So one of the things that we do in a circumstance like that is we get our team together and we find out, okay, where are the majority of our attendees coming from? Are they scattered across the whole country, or do we have primarily from one part of Ontario, one part of Alberta, one part of BC? And then what we do is we look to local, in particular during this time, we look to local food banks that we can support. And we reach out to those local food banks and we ask them, what do you prefer? Would you like us to send you the money, or would you like us to deliver the food? And so far, the food banks have been saying, listen, just send us the money, because we get a much better deal when we go directly to the wholesalers to buy the food ourselves. And so we are blessed beyond the definition of good fortune, guys. I think all four of us can agree. And there are families out there that they don't know where the next meal's coming from, when the next paycheck's coming, or where it's coming from. And so we believe that by putting food on the table for these families, that we can nourish them and we can help them put their right foot in front of their left foot and keep moving forward. And so we're going to support local food banks with the proceeds from this live event and feed families who are in need.
Fantastic. Okay, so now what if somebody's listening to this after the live event's happened?
Well, thank you for asking that. So the live event will be recorded, and we will have paid access, pay-per-view essentially, for people who want to take advantage of it after Saturday, April the 17th. And again, using a very unique link for that particular event, we're going to be able to track it so that we can continue to donate the proceeds. There's no expiration date on that. So just know that your $48 is going to be put to good use. And you're going to get an awesome day of education out of it to boot.
Amazing.
Okay.
And like, some people might already have the base for this set up in a way, right? Like, they might not know it, but they might have already, if they've set up a policy 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago type of thing, they might already have something there that they're not using. Is that right?
Yeah. And we love to see what I refer to as a seasoned policy that's been in place for many years. And the policy owner has had literally this gold in their hands, and nobody's explained to them how to use the tool. One of the things that I share frequently when we're coaching, people who are just first exposed to this process, is we say, listen, the policy is just a tool. And if we put the best tool for the job in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to use it, not only are they not going to turn out any good work with the tool, but they're likely going to break the damn tool. And so it's important to work with someone who's thoroughly, and I do mean thoroughly, familiar with how to implement this process. And on our team, when a new client comes aboard, they get our whole team. We have our advisory team, which are all authorized infinite banking practitioners with the Nelson Nash Institute. We have our client services team, which takes care of all client service requests. We call it great service every day in every way, and we deliver on that promise, that I can assure you. And then we've got our operations team, which are backstage. They make sure all the great things, processes, automation, hyper-personalized automation for our clients functions and works. We have Frank and Tim on our team. Frank's a trust and estate planner, chartered accountant by trade. Tim is a chartered accountant. Now, we don't provide chartered accounting services, but we find that it's always best to have one chartered accountant talking to another when we're in the estate planning and wealth transfer discussions. So our clients, they get the whole team, the whole package. And the response that we receive literally on a daily basis from clients is that they can't believe that there's so much emphasis from an organization like ours on how to coach and educate them to implement this process. They thought it was going to be transactional. Hey, I'm just going to buy a policy, build up some cash value, take out a policy loan every now and then. Good luck, hope you get there, on to the next one. That's not about who we are. Education is truly the foundation of who we are. And this isn't work. I don't know if you guys can tell. I haven't let Peter say a word. I'm sucking all the oxygen out of this virtual room. This isn't work. This isn't work, because believe it or not, it's not just about the living benefit, guys. I've had to fulfill my duty of care and deliver a number of death benefits over the years to families. And this is money that shows up when it's needed the most. When I talk to real estate investors, I say, please describe to me your definition of the best investment, because my definition is one that pays the most when it's needed the most. And so when families lose a loved one, the last thing on their mind in that moment is the real estate portfolio. The first thing on their mind is, how do we go on living? What do we do next? And we show up with a windfall of tax-free money when it's needed the most. And I've never had a family say, gosh, I wish the check was for less. It gives them time to grieve and to basically reestablish themselves and to move forward. And we help them through that stage of their bereavement and dealing with what's next. And we have, again, the tax expertise, the trust and estate planning expertise. So this is not only serving our clients while they're with us, but it's also taking care of their loved ones when they're not with us. And we're so passionate about it because we get to literally, with a pen and a few pieces of paper, we get to literally create those promises to pay where those promises never existed before. And they're legally binding, contractually guaranteed. We're dealing with life insurance companies that have been around longer than the four of us have been alive combined. Is there anything stupid about doing that?
Well, that's why I think a lot of, and it was one of the questions that comes to my mind and others when they first hear about something like this, how the heck is this not more mainstream, or why does nobody really know about it? It seems like it's just an amazing tool, and there's not that many people talking about it. Why is that?
Because Wall Street and Bay Street can't make money off of it. If Wall Street and Bay Street could make money off of it, they'd be shouting it from the rooftops, and people would be lined up from here all the way to the international airport to purchase these contracts. This is something that the wealthy have known about longer than the four of us have been alive. And if you look at it from this vantage point, guys, everything begins with the way that we think. And so if the minority of people in the world are accumulating and controlling the wealth, then why do we continue to do what the majority do financially? It's because of how we're conditioned to think. Wall Street, Bay Street, the financial institutions that are peddling instruments like mutual funds and things of that nature, they're all designed for you to give up control over the use and the motion of your money so that they can gain control over the use and the motion of your money. You don't have to be rich to do this. You don't have to lock your money away in financial prison for decades to get the financial abundance that you deserve now. And the only difference between you getting stressed or staying relaxed financially is who controls the banking function as it relates to your needs. So for your listening audience, I can't stress this enough. Ask yourself this question: who controls the banking function in your life? It can and it should be you, whether you're making $10 an hour or $10,000 an hour. This message is something that you need to hear, and then you need to implement this in your family and your business so that the money's coming back to you and not flowing away to someone else's system. Isn't that good?
That's fantastic.
That's a great answer. Yeah, that's a great answer.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate that.
Well, it's great. It's crazy. And almost I sense in the world there's almost getting to be more people thinking like this, where it's almost been a hidden thing for years or centuries maybe, of how the money really works, money system, and this giving us the chance to kind of, that's where the education piece comes in. I think it's kind of your secret sauce in all this, is that the education and coaching, accountability around it to people, because it's one thing to understand it a little bit. It's one thing to kind of maybe be aware that, hey, there's a ways that we can use this ourselves, and it's not all about being a slave, I guess, to the system. We can find a way around this, and you don't have to be super, super rich or wealthy or have decades of wealth built into your family to make this work, which is the exciting thing too, is it's pretty much achievable for anybody.
You bet. And someone has to control that function of banking in your life. Someone has to do it. And people don't understand who the characters are in the financial play, let alone the roles that they play. You've got the depositor, the borrower, the banker, and the bank owner. And for most Canadians that we talk to, they are the depositor and the borrower. But the character in the play, the bank owner, is the one who's making the most money. And the bank owner is the one who possesses the gold. And whomever possesses the gold makes all the rules. And so if you can become all four characters in the financial play, you create indestructible wealth. And I say that again, indestructible wealth. And you're absolutely right, Sandy, about the remark that you made earlier, because for the most part, this tool has been cloaked. It's been cloaked by a veil of life insurance, and it's been grossly misclassified. It should have been called a personal monetary system with a death benefit thrown in for good measure. That would create curiosity. People would go, oh, what is that? But people can take just a tiny bit of information and reach absurd conclusions. And there's no sharper an example of that than life insurance. Oh, life insurance. Ah, geez. No. What you need to do is you need to buy term insurance and go and invest your money in mutual funds. You'll come out way farther ahead. How's that worked out for people?
Yeah.
Nobody sat down and said, do you understand, do you recognize the financing characteristics that this contract represents? Once that started to basically percolate and people were being educated by us in the country, people started to rethink their thinking. They were going, what? Nobody's shared that with me before. Could this be true? Hey, don't take our word for it. Reach out to the insurance companies, verify it with them. And sure enough, the verification occurred. And people came back and said, I want to do this. We haven't had a single client call us in 13 years who has said, you know what, guys, I'm really pissed off that my cash values keep rising every day uninterrupted, and that I'm participating as a co-owner of a life insurance company who's never failed to produce profit. I'm earning dividends every single year that are growing every single year, and they can't be repossessed. They can't be taken away. I've got ready access to capital. And I don't know what my best before date is, but God forbid if I pass away at any point in time, I'm leaving behind no indebtedness and taking care of all my terminal tax obligations with the life insurance company's money, not my estate's money. And I always ask the question.
It's a mouthful. I don't know that anyone could remember that. Say it back to you.
Is there anything stupid about doing that?
It sounds like a lot of freedom.
This is all about logic. Well, here's the thing, guys. It's about logic and motivation. Is it logical to have total and absolute control over the use and liquidity of a growing pool of financial value? Of course it is. Are you motivated to change? Do you possess the desire to have money redirected back to your system versus having that money continually flow away from you to someone else's? What is the cost of doing nothing? One more day of all your money flowing away. Real estate investors in particular, we ask them, what's the most important thing to you when you sit down with a broker? It's the rate and the amortization schedule. Those are the two things that are most important. We ask, well, regardless of the rate, who's getting all the money? Right? And it's like that, you get looked at like you just landed from Mars. Yeah. What? Hey, regardless of the rate, someone has to perform the banking function. Who's performing that function in your life right now? Someone else. And remember, whomever has the gold is making the rules, and the rules can change. Investors have gone through this. They've gone through the qualification requirement rules changing. They've gone through the larger ticket real estate purchase rules changing. They've experienced these things where they wake up one morning and go, wait a second, my plans are impacted now because someone else who had the gold changed the rules. Put yourself in the driver's seat. Take control of this function. Recognizing that taking control of this banking function personally is one of the most important things that you can do in your financial world. It's going to change things for you dramatically. Not slightly, dramatically. And
Sandy, to answer the question that you had too, I think that it comes down to people just not knowing what they don't know. And I mean, like even when it comes to real estate investing, we've talked about this many times where you'll be around a water cooler at any given business, and there'll be a bunch of naysayers talking about how real estate is way too risky. Right. Why would you even think about getting involved in something like that? Is because they don't understand, they don't know, they haven't taken any time to even look at what financial independence it can bring, or even or anything about it, really, what the risk factor actually is. So like there's all kinds of things like the Smith maneuver, and we've had Robinson Smith on here to talk about that. Like these are things that people just don't know about until they come to a forum like this. They get to gather information and knowledge and learn about it where they wouldn't have otherwise gotten the opportunity to do so. So thanks for coming on and sharing all this. And let me tell you, I'm I know we're guaranteed to have intrigued people. They may not understand exactly how it works yet. That is for sure, because there's a lot to it, like you said, and we sort of just touched on sort of the top layer of it, right? You have an idea of the power that it can bring to your own financial system, but we haven't really dug into the mechanics on how it works, which is obviously something we don't necessarily have time for today, and something that maybe is different depending on what they've got going on for each individual person. So,
Yeah.
So I think that everyone's going to be interested in reaching out and learning a bit more. I want to ask you guys. We'll don't worry, we're not done yet. We'll get to where they can go. We'll touch on all of the ways to get in touch with you in a little bit. But I wanted to ask, what's next for you guys? What big plans do you have coming up?
Thank you for asking that. So we are busier than we've ever been. And so expansion has been something that's been well underway for us. We created what we call a painted picture vision, and we are in our third year of achieving that painted picture vision, of growing our organization. So we're bringing on great people. We're putting them through the paces of the Authorized Infinite Banking Practitioner Program. The client portal is something that we're incredibly proud of, because it was and is our clients who are giving us the best intellectual shortcuts on the things that they want to see us build for them. And so a lot of very, very big emphasis on continuing to build out our training platform, our resource platform for our clients, and getting this message out to as many Canadians as we can. And again, I can't emphasize it enough that regardless of what you're earning in your life and what exactly it is that you do, someone's got to perform this function of banking. And so we want to teach you how to take control of that as it relates to your needs. We have clients that put in as little as $100 a month into their policies for their children or their grandchildren. And we have clients that put in high six figures every single month. And so if you're somewhere in between those two numbers, we can help you.
So I was going to ask you about that too, because it doesn't take much to at least get the path started, right? And you can go, I know you can go way beyond that, and you can go multiple six figures times multiple people even, and then spread this out into your kids. And there's so many different cool ways to utilize this tool.
Yeah.
Which I mean, they'll have to learn more about it at your event or at your courses. But it's crazy. It's crazy that you can get into it for that little amount too, and just get the ball rolling, which is pretty much almost accessible to everyone. Probably 99% of our listeners could start this right away.
Well, and you hit a good point there, Sandy. I'll just say this to finalize Rob's question. A big focus of ours is on coaching clients to conduct their annual family banking meeting. And we're going to expand on that a little bit more in our live event. But this is a big game changer, because when you start to get the family involved in understanding keeping money in the family, circling the wagons, bringing that money back, replenishing assets in the family, it's not only impactful for you, but it's impactful for generations. And so that is a big, big part of our focus on education and coaching our clients to really maximize the benefits of this process.
I'm on mute. The other thing too is, I like the idea of that. I like how that sounds, because a confused mind says no, right? And if you've got family members that don't understand this process, then they might not be on board with it. So I think that would be something that would help a lot, is just for everyone to understand the process and something to get excited about, even for the kids to learn a little bit about how it works, right?
I'll tell you, we have evidence time and time again that the kids pick up on this faster than adults do, because kids have much higher neuroplasticity than adults do. That's why it's so beneficial to learn a new language at such a young age. Mm-hmm. And so in families, we hear stories of children who are accessing really small policy loans. They're repaying those loans. They're being rewarded and recognized for that. And they're learning that language. They're saying, hey, this is all about keeping the money in the family. Could you imagine a 12-year-old saying that to us right now? What? Yeah. And
I'd start to cry.
Yeah, well, the kids understand this. They pick up on this much faster than adults do. And so the family banking meeting is something that I think it's going to be a total game changer, because we've been working with it with select families here these past few years, and the call to expand it and bring it to our client base in general has been it's been a ring in our ear since we started it, and so that's a big part of our focus going forward as well.
Here's a weird idea. I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard of the cash flow board game.
Yeah.
Why not the personal financial growth system board game, or the become your own banker board game, right?
You may be getting a little ahead of me there, Rob. That idea may already be in the laboratory.
Well, there you go.
Nice. Yeah, that's Kiyosaki, I guess, is where we're stealing that from. But great idea, and it's crazy, because like a lot of we're just so creature of habit, right? And we're just so like, you get in this system doing their banking the way you do it, and it's the way everyone does it, basically, and so you just do it. But what a crazy shift you could make with the one little tweak. Really, it's not even that big of a shift. Ultimately, there's some mechanics to it and everything, like we've mentioned, but it's not that crazy of an idea when you really understand it a little bit. It's pretty simple, ultimately, right? It's not that complex.
It is ridiculously simple once you know how. But this is a message that has to be caught. You have to catch this. You have to understand the problem. Otherwise, the solution just won't matter to you.
And really quickly, I mean, again, you've kind of pointed this out, right? Like, for everybody, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not something like you implementing it now is the key, and the real benefits of it are down the road. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And dependent upon how your system is structured and, what your specific financial objectives are, this moves at a pace that works for you and based on what you're able to do. It's not based on our pacing, it's yours. And so that's why the coaching process is so incredibly invaluable, because you need to have someone there to say, hey, listen, I've got 13 years of history. Here's what my journey looked like. I understand what you want to achieve. This is what's realistic. There's no such thing as an unrealistic goal, only unrealistic timelines. And so that's why you need a good coach who can help guide you along the way.
So tell us about your podcast that you guys have going on.
Oh, sure. Yeah. We've got our podcast titled Wealth Without Bay Street. Again, that's Wealth Without Bay Street. And we launched the podcast in February of last year to an overwhelmingly positive response. The number of downloads in our listener base is expanding daily. And so we would encourage your listeners just to ease on over to wealthwithoutbaystreet.com. That's wealthwithoutbaystreet.com. Or you can find us on the YouTubes at Wealth Without Bay Street. Again, that's the YouTubes. All of the episodes are there. We film them all. And if you're looking for great content on this process, that is your one-stop shop for episodes. We have, I got to share this, guys. We have a whole client series on the podcast. So these are real clients being interviewed, talking about their journey with the process. And, you guys may have heard the expression before, you can't argue stories. You can argue numbers, but you can't argue stories. And these are real people sharing their journey with becoming their own banker. And so highly encourage people to tune in. And we love referring people to your podcast as well, guys, because we talk to real estate investors every day.
It's a perfect marriage. It's a perfect marriage, I think, the two models.
Yeah, it sounds great. Okay, wealthwithoutbaystreet.com, you said?
You got it. Yep.
Awesome. Okay, well, man, I'm pretty sure, Jayson, you could talk for a little while longer.
Oh, hey, guys, I'd be here all week if you need me. The next 72 episodes.
Yeah. But I think that's absolutely, definitely a good base. And we're going to encourage anyone who's listening, to reach out to you guys and inquire how they can, inquire on how they can acquire their very own personal financial growth system, as you called it earlier.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very intriguing way of looking at it too. So how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Thank you for asking, Rob. So your listeners can head on over to mybankersvault.com. Again, that's mybankersvault.com. And when they get there, they're going to see just a simple click, get yours now. This vault contains, we've put together the best reading material on the process of becoming your own banker, the infinite banking concept. There is a pre-recorded masterclass, which is basically a well-rounded introduction to the process of becoming your own banker. Then we are hosting a live virtual event on Saturday, April the 17th, where your listeners are going to be able to get educated with real case studies, a complete overview of the process. It's going to be an exceptional day. You'll be surrounded by like-minded people learning about a concept that will absolutely transform your financial life. It's going to open your eyes to a whole new financial world. I promise you.
That's amazing. That's exciting. And we definitely encourage all of our listeners to go over and check it out, or viewers if you're watching right now, because it's such a transformational piece to your wealth building strategies. Real estate's amazing. Tying this in, I don't even know what to call it, but I guess it's super sexy is what it is. If we're, and probably a whole bunch of other good words you could add there, but it's awesome. So I think it's a great thing. mybankersvault.com, go check it out. And hopefully we see some awesome listeners at the event there on April 17th.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, and again, guys, for anyone who missed it, all of the links that that Jayson was talking about earlier are going to be in the show notes. So if you missed any of those, if you missed what the podcast is called, it's Wealth Without Bay Street, and you can go over and click all the links. They're in the show notes, so you don't have to remember them. Just go over there, and every single thing that Peter and Jayson were talking about here today, all of the links are going to be in the show notes. So jump on over there and get in touch with them that way as well. So thanks again for being here, guys. Really appreciate all this stuff that you shared. I think it's super important that at least people try to learn about it.
Agreed.
If they don't like it, that's fine.
Yeah.
Go over, try to learn about it. See what you think. Test it out for yourself.
There's always something new to learn. And, if people catch the message, great. And if they don't, as long as they leave happy, that's okay too.
So, Sandy, how can people get in touch with you?
289-389-6846 or sandy@mckayrealtynetwork.com.
You can reach me at rob@mrbreakthrough.ca. Thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been another great episode, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.